From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Paul Peck, along with Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky, and welcome to this special edition of Beat the Champ. We have had a lot of fun over the last 5 years, taking this sport to another level, seeing all the outstanding bowlers in Western New York, and seeing the reaction from the bowling community has been great as well.
Absolutely. There's so many great bowlers in this community that don't do this for a living, but still come out here and perform on the weekends as if they do it for a living. And, and as far as the community goes, I get so much input from everyone, and we have seen so many great matches throughout the years that it's fun to actually look back and see a couple of them from time to time.
All right, so here we go. It's the best of Beat the Champ. So it's Ray Richards looking to win 2 in a row, and his challenger will be Curtis Foss, who is making his 4th appearance here on Beat the Champ. 2 wins versus 3 losses. Last time we saw Curtis was June of last year at Manor Two Lanes, where he won 1 and lost 1, and Curtis is one of the most powerful throwing bowlers in all of Western New York, and you'll know that in 3, 2, 1. Oh, he kind of lightened up on that one on me.
Oh, awesome shot. Way he wants to come out of the gate.
He can really wing it. He can really throw it hard, and again, not always ultimately successful because of that, but he's a really good bowler, and that helps him be a really good bowler. So Ray Richards, who came off that first career win here on Beat the Champ with the victory over Rob Piccoli. You might call that an upset based on how Rob had been bowling. But it's Ray that gets the win and the strike, and now he has the chance to put a little winning streak together.
Right, like we talked about in the beginning of the show, this is transition from a straighty game to a more wide open game, and as you break down that head oil in the middle, that's what you're going to see happen, where in the beginning it was wet-dry, so the wet was almost too wet, and if you played in it, you came up light, but now that's all broken down, and it just opens up a spot for these people that can really hook it.
Does it favor either of these 2 bowlers?
They're playing them pretty close.
Yep.
In this case, it's going to be who falters with a bad shot.
Right.
And I don't want to predict because it's you got to go up there and you got to bowl 10 frames, but Ray being 6 weeks back.
Yeah.
6 weeks into being back, I should say, is when you're put in pressure situations, that's when you're not as comfortable.
As we mentioned, he took a year off of bowling and just started up again 6 weeks ago, and that might be one of those moments you talked about. A missed opportunity on a spare winds up in an open in the second frame for Ray Richards.
It is, and that is exactly one of those moments. That's where your rustiness comes out, and taking the time to make
those
the
single pin spares, right? We've seen those bite a lot of bowlers over the years of this show, and you've seen a lot more than that bite people in tournaments, and it looks easy and it isn't, but if you don't make them, you can really pay for it. That's 2 strikes and 2 frames for the very patriotically dressed Curtis Foss, 31 years old from Medina, New York.
Here's another thing. This time of year, we're talking about early May, leagues have just wound up. People who have bowled, 3, 4 leagues during the course of the year, they're at their absolute sharpest, and they're ready to go into our state tournaments, our city tournaments. That's all going on. Just
Open Hour Masters gets started.
Right, which we're going to lead into. It's starting this week, May 11th. So these guys right now are the sharpest they're going to be. And now you've got a newbie coming in that hasn't thrown a ball in 6 weeks. He's not going to most likely bowl the Open Hour. He's not put the time in. And, Curtis is as sharp as he's going to be, so these are one of the obstacles that you're going to face.
26 years old from Amherst, employed at Arubis Brass. Machine operator is Ray Richards. Been bowling for a long time, since he was about 4 years old. And that's back to the kind of shots that we saw Ray make in the win over Rob Piccoli.
Throws a good, that high backswing.
Yeah, how about both these guys? Ray with about a 230 average, Curtis with about a 238 average. Those are lofty numbers. Boy, I think you tell me if you can average somewhere in that neighborhood, that means you're bowling pretty well. And again, for both of these guys, those averages are culled from bowling in really high-level leagues all over town.
Right. When you have those high rev rates,
oh boy,
you tend to have pretty good carry. Yeah, this lane's hurting him a little bit.
Yeah, there's our first 7-10 split of the month here at Transit Lanes, and now Ray Richards, unless he can pull off the miracle, is looking at 2 open frames in the last 3.
Sometimes you notice there's glaring differences between the lanes. I don't know. Most of the time we normally find a lane that gets one of them, and I don't think today we've really had that.
No, we haven't talked about either 11 or 12 being the lane from hell,
Right.
which we tend to do a lot on this show. There always seems to be one where nobody can get anything to work.
Right.
So
I heard a little muttering that 11 is a little tighter than 12. I think it's very subtle.
their boulders, there's always a little muttering.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's Janelle Saban and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, giving you the early look at Curtis Foss, off to a perfect start through 3 frames. Here he is in frame 4. And that perfect start will end with a picket fence on the right-hand side, 3-6-10.
Yeah, his body was blocking my view from being able to see exactly what happened there. I don't know if he hit the dry too early. But that would be my guess based on the result.
And, one of the interesting things that I noticed as Curtis grabs the spare, he really hooks, that ball goes behind his back on the backswing and then comes around as he brings it back forward. It's not straight back, straight the other way. It's interesting. Watch it as you watch here. Really watch how far the ball goes behind, almost to the middle of his belt buckle there.
But also watch when he brings it in. He brings it in parallel to his hips. So I was watching that earlier, the same exact thing you saw. So he holds the ball out, which makes the swing go behind his back. But when he sets it down, it's absolutely parallel to his hips. So he goes through a lot of work to come straight through. If he went straight back and straight through, it would end up in the same place.
Yeah, how about I don't know if you noticed the 7-pin on that one did almost a 180 spin around and refused to go down. So, and again, all different styles work for different people. I think you don't even hear the ball hit the lane with Curtis,
smooth,
where in our next match with Mike Zarcone, you will every single time. I mean, listen to that. That's amazing.
And the revolutions he gets on it. I mean, that man's got a strong hand.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
All these guys, was by the rule, so to speak, by their body size and their body weights, they would be certainly fine with 16-pound balls. Anybody that weighs over 200 would correlate to a 16-pound ball, but it's just not necessary to put your body through the wear and tear. 15-pound balls are fine. And, you leave enough 8 pins and enough 9 pins with 15-pound balls. You don't need it. Oop, bad shot. See, everybody makes a bad shot. It's where you make it.
That one was really hugged the right side of the lane. It almost, off his hand, looked like it was going diagonally to about lane 15.
Which
and then obviously it turned, but a little bit late.
Well, believe it or not, it turned early.
Okay, I was almost going to say, based on where the results of the pins, I think as soon as I said that, I realized I was wrong.
He threw it into the dry early, and then it's going to hook out of that dry and just take off, and then it finally rolls out the back end. But
nice split pickup there, too.
Everything for him has been in his targets more between the second and third arrow, not way out there to the right. So that was he just whiffed that, and there's so much dry boards out there that ball just hooks out of that. But it was a great spare.
That's probably a little more of a difficult spare than it looked like it would be, right?
Yeah, the difference is Ray keeps striking, that this leads down to 18.
And it was over 40.
So now you get bad pin collision next to a bad shot, which is the story of a bowler's life, to be honest with you.
Yep. Curtis kind of rolled his eyes to the ceiling there when that 7-pin would not go down. And he knows his opponent is working a triple. And the strikes have at least paused at the moment here for Curtis Foss. So it spares an 8 and 9 for Curtis, and now Ray, who's struck in 6, 7, and 8, will look to keep that going. There's your updated Castellone scoreboard.
All right, so if he doubles here, he's cut the lead to 17, but he's got to double.
Ninth frame.
Great shot.
That's 4 in a row for Ray Richards.
Great shot.
So once again, we've got another match that's coming right down to the end, partly because of a great second half comeback by a bowler who looked like he might have been almost out of it. And we've had that happen. We had that happen at least twice in last week's show, and it's happening again here now. As you mentioned, he was down more than 40 pins was Ray Richards. 10th frame. 5 in a row.
Okay, so this is big because no matter what, obviously he cannot shut Curtis out, but he's forcing Curtis to strike spare.
So remember, 2 opens in the first 4 frames of this match for Ray Richards, including a 7-10 split. So again, the ability to get your game back in the right direction.
Big strike. All right, now he's forced Curtis to have to double after all of that.
Wow. So 6 in a row here. He has struck everywhere on the backside, frames 6 through 10 right now, with a chance to do one more. And again, really putting the pressure on Curtis Foss, who early in this match looked like he might cruise to a 30, 40, 50 pin win.
Yep. He was up almost 50 at one point, halfway through.
Final fill ball for Ray Richards. And what else?
What a finish.
Ending on 7 consecutive strikes.
What a finish.
What a great finish for Ray Richards to post a 226. Will it be enough? That's kind of up to Mr. Foss. So he needs to double here in the 10th frame. And he will not.
Wow.
A lot of bumping of the 8-pin. It would not go down. And that will give the victory
Absolutely.
to Ray Richards. And what an incredible comeback for Ray. As we mentioned, 2 opens in the first 4, and he hits that 6th frame and strikes the whole rest of the way. And it's going to be a win, and maybe an unlikely one, and a heck of a come-from-behind one for Ray Richards. Victory over Curtis Foss. Richards versus Zarcone. Match number 2 is coming up, but first, we'll talk to Curtis about how this one went down when we return to Transit Lanes. Well, the theme of this month here at Transit Lanes is matches that come right down to the 10th frame, and it winds up 226 to 222, Ray Richards over Curtis Foss. I know you love this game so much and you've dedicated a lot of your life to it, but I would sometimes think those are the matches where you have a 40-pin lead where you don't love things so much, do you?
Yeah, no, it's tough when you get in a groove and then all of a sudden things just stop going your way and it's tough to get back on it. So.
What are you thinking about when you go to the line there in the 10th frame, knowing you still have a chance to win, and it does, and you come up 1 pin short?
I mean, it was tough. The 8th frame, my ball hooked a lot, so I moved a little bit with my mark, hoping that I could keep the ball a little more direct, keep the ball from overhooking, and it just didn't come up at the end. So.
Bill, you got some button you can hit here for those 10th frames?
No, I know it's been close.
Off?
Everyone's been in the 10th. They've had a chance. If they throw a strike, they can get it. And for whatever reason, they either speed up a little bit or he makes an adjustment off of what he saw before, and then it doesn't quite cooperate and go like he expects. You know, that's what happens in the game of bowling. We try to, any of us that are out there, you make little adjustments and you hope it's the right one. And when you only got 1 shot and it doesn't happen, as it didn't for Curtis. But he bowled well. It was a great match.
Yeah, it was a great match, and you did bowl well, Curtis. I know it's a tough break, but we know Ray Richards is moving on. It's Richards versus Zarcone. That should be a good one. Stick around. It's next here on Beat the Champ. Match number 2, it's Ray Richards versus the king of Beat the Champ bowlers, Mike Zarcone, our winningest Beat the Champ bowler. He's already given me a face for having said that. So
it's his fault. He pulled away. He's the one that.
This is his 34th appearance on Beat the Champ with 34 wins. I would say that's royalty. And
that's how he did it.
The way he bowls is royalty as well, too. So Mike Zarcone, who, again, is a regular, almost every month we get Mike, and I think we've had him last 3-4 months in a row. I know you had him down there at Lucky Lanes in Fredonia. So Richards, who is working 2 in a row, will have to continue to bowl at a high level in order to knock off Mike Zarcone and try to sweep the week.
Nice shot.
And tell you what, the way Ray is bowling right now, I'd give him a pretty good shot.
Yep.
And the way these matches have all sort of gone back and forth, up and down, and wind up being decided in the 10th frame, why would we think it'd be different?
You know, they get decided by who's going to make a bad shot and how bad is the shot, and is it something you can recover from or isn't it?
Right.
But these guys are at such a level where it's just one bad shot.
That's right.
Where's it going to be in between strikes, in between spares? It's that simple. Great shot.
2 strikes, 2 frames for Ray Richards. Last time we saw Mike was last month at Lucky Lanes in Fredonia, where he won 3 in a row before he lost to Rob Piccoli, who won a couple, then lost to Joe Rubricht, and then came back and bowled and beat Joe in our first week here at Transit Lanes. So
I saw Mike more than once because he bowled the 4th show as well.
aha. Well, so, and again, you probably see Mike 3-4 times a week,
And I see him
just
in
hanging out in that upper echelon bowling crowd that you hang out with.
Oh, yeah.
So it's always good to have Mike on the show, and again, there's no denying his greatness and the fact that he has dominated the 4 years of the return of Beat the Champ since 2016 with the most wins, most appearances.
Well, there's your first
Stumble?
stumble. Yeah.
Stumble, yeah.
Not even a stumble. I mean, his ball, just the way it drives, his ball left turns, and if he's going to leave anything, it's probably going to be a 9. The ball's going to miss it. He's seen his fair share of those.
So 2 strikes and a spare for Mike Zarcone to get things started here. And Ray Richards with strikes in the first 2. We'll see if he can't keep that moving as he slides over to lane 12. 26 years old from Amherst is Ray Richards. Way off to the right and never broke back enough.
That
Which
was
is
not
why
a good shot.
which is why the 1 and the 2. That's a rather unusual leave.
I don't know what he just said, but I think it was funny. That's all you can really do when that happens. That's just missing your target right there.
Yep. And the spare pickup is successful for Ray.
But that's okay. Even with that shot, he finds himself only down 1, so no harm, no foul.
There's Janelle Sabin manning the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard with the early results from this one. By the way, you guys did a great job the last couple of weeks here filling in for me. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the help that all the guest hosts like Jack Jurek and Jim Russo and everybody that chipped in. Thanks for keeping
Your buddy Merkel.
Thanks for my buddy Greg Merkel. That's right. Thanks for keeping the Beat the Champ train rolling down the rails. Occasionally off the rails, but mostly on the rails. It's good to be back with you guys. 51 years old from Tonawanda is Mike Zarcone. I mentioned his 34th appearance on the show to match his 34 wins. 22 losses. If you've been on a lot, that means you're going to win a lot and you're going to lose a lot as well too. So Mike has more wins and more losses than anybody does on this show.
Right.
And he also has more appearances, just a couple ahead of Chuck Jagodzinski. Those 2 guys have been the most dominant bowlers on this show.
Well, back in Salamanca, it was just about tied. If one beat the other. It was going to be tied, and then Mike's starting to pull away now.
And Mike Zarcone with 4 strikes in the first 5 frames.
Doing his job.
You know, and again, we talk so much about consistency. We talk about consistent greatness and consistency in how much you bowl that makes you great. And there is no better example of that than Mike Zarcone bowls 4 nights a week. Unlike Curtis Foss, who bowls 6 nights a week, but that's all right. Mike needs a little bit of a break too. But again, a couple nights a week here at Transit Lanes on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then also part of that travel league on Saturdays as well too.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Great shot there by Ray. Keeping this close.
Yeah, he 4 strikes in the first. These guys have had exactly the same scorecards, as you can see there, just the 1 pin difference. And that's because one of Ray's spares was a 2-pin spare, not a 1-pin spare.
Right. Right back at you.
Yeah, right back at you is right. And I'll tell you what, you know, even when Ray won that match against Rob Piccoli, where both guys sort of struggled a little bit early, once Ray sort of found himself, and particularly overcoming those 2 opens in the match against Curtis Foss, he's really been on a groove. As a matter of fact, as I'm doing my math here, that is 11 strikes in the last 12 frames for Ray Richards. And Mike Zarcone, the 6-time Buffalo Bowler of the Year, will have a spare to work through here in the 6th frame.
There's a mentality to the great bowlers, and that is how they channel their stress, how they channel these situations. And some people are just better at these clutch situations than others. And I would never say that someone of the caliber of Mike was bad, but for over and over, Ray has been able to channel it, not be nervous about it, not want it so much. He's been able to make really good shots when he's needed to, and that's something inside of you. That's not something I don't know that you can learn unless you've done some real strong mental game work. There's just some people that can channel that challenge better than others.
Nice strike for Mike Zarcone in the 7th frame. If Ray Richards wasn't going to let 2 opens in the first 4 frames in the match against Curtis previous bring him down, almost nothing will, because those were tough. Those were a couple of bad throws.
Right. It's not really related just to this match. It's just how he's come out of some situations where he's found himself down and been able to make really good shots to put himself right back in.
There's another one. So the strike run continues for Ray Richards. 6 of the first 7 frames. And again, we know that Mike Zarcone will begin taking part this week in the Open Hour Masters. We didn't ask Ray whether he's going to or not.
Right.
But Mike Zarcone going to try to defend. He's the 2014 Open Hour Masters champion and has numerous top 5 and top 10 finishes in that great tournament. There's another one for Ray. Open Hour Masters gets going this week at Lancaster Lanes.
Starting Tuesday night, and there'll be 2 squads. There'll be your early squad, your 6 o'clock squad on Fresh. Then the 8:30 squad will follow that. And then it'll flip. The same bowlers that bowled at 6 will bowl on the bowled on, and then the other bowlers will bowl on Fresh. And that's the difference between the 2 squads, is they do not dress the lanes in between.
Strike for Mike. So you know who's bowling well right now. You know who's at the top of their game. Give me, you got a favorite or two for who we might see in the finals there by the weekend?
Wow, that is a super great question.
And hopefully, I assume things go the way that we were able to do that special show here on Beat the Champ with the finals of the Open Hour Masters, where we sat down with Jack and Dana Vojtovich. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to do that again this year too.
I know they're working on something to see if they could do something like that again, because they really enjoyed having that coverage, and that tournament deserves that coverage. But Mike's going to be tough, because to me in that tournament, the bowler has to be able to go up the boards, and they have to be able to open the lane up too, because once the lanes start to break down, there's no place you can really find to play straight. So you really have to be able to get in deeper. And so you have to be very versatile. What a
Boy,
shot.
another one for Ray Richards. That is 6 in a row for Ray. And I'll tell you what, Ray may want to make sure he signs up and bowls the Obenauer Masters. You know, again, it's the same usual crowd of great bowlers that will be in this tournament. Zarcone and Jagosinski and Dana Vojtovich and Tyler Molina and Kevin Bianco, who won it a couple of years ago. All the guys that Pat Brick that we see on our show are going to be the one that will battle for that 8 in a row, or 7 in a row now for Richards. So that'll be fun to watch if you have a chance to get out to Lancaster Lanes this week. Starts on Tuesday, runs through the weekend with the Obenauer Masters. It is the preeminent bowling
14th
tournament
to the 19th.
in town, and it is certainly worth your time if you're a fan. Second ball of the 10th frame, and the strike run ends at 7
And
for Ray Richards.
That's going to give him a 260 game, which is enough
So,
to shut Mike out.
Another dominating performance by Ray Richards, and we're going to watch him finish things out here. He is on an amazing roll, and this was responding to bowling a great bowler like Mike Zarcone and just continuing to pound the pins, and that's what Ray Richards has done, and it's an impressive performance for Ray, and he's going to come up with a win here over Mike Zarcone. We'll talk to Mike and get you ready for our final match of the day as Ray tries to keep things rolling when Sue and I and Janelle Saban return. It's Beat the Champ at Transit Lanes in Williamsville. We're back right after this. I would guess you haven't bowled a lot of 257s in your life and not won your matches.
Hey, it happens. Ray bowled a great game. I threw one bad shot and obviously one bad break, but he bowled a great game.
Yeah, Ray seems to really be on a roll. What are you seeing from him? I know you love observing and watching and analyzing your opponents as much as anybody.
Yeah, we're both pretty much playing the similar part of the lane, and he's bowling good right now.
Obenauer Masters coming up this week. How excited are you? You feel like you're in the right position where your game is at to try to win another one?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, I don't think we need to say anything more than that. Make sure you get out and watch Mike win another one. Bill?
Okay.
Mike, great bowling today. I know you'll do well in the Masters. I know you look forward to that. But great bowling. It's nice to see big numbers over here at Transit Lanes. We like that.
Plenty of
so
them,
thank
Bill.
you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Little gift for you.
Thank
I
you,
don't
sir.
know what Bill did to these lanes, but we're getting some plenty big numbers here. Ray Richards going to try to put another big number on. The biggest might be 3. Can he win 3 in a row? We'll find out. Dan Melidona is going to have something to say about that. It's coming up next on Beat the Champ. So Ray Richards goes for 3 in a row here this week, and he'll go for 4 in a row overall unless Dan Melidona can prevent that from happening. Final match of our 3-week stay here at Transit Lanes. We'll be back here for next week's special Transit Lanes Showdown Challenge show, but for regular competition, this is it. Winner of this match advances to the Jamestown Bowling Company in 2 weeks. And Dan Melidona off to a good start with a strike. So Ray Richards, who has won 3 in a row, his first 3 wins here on Beat the Champ. And how about this, Sue? He's averaged 251 in the 3 wins
That's
so far.
amazing. It's amazing since he's just come back to bowling after being off a year.
Pretty impressive, and particularly in really preventing a 257 for Mike Zarcone from being enough to win, because Ray bowled a 267, including 7 consecutive strikes. So impressive stuff from Ray Richards. It's been impressive stuff here at Transit Lanes. The scores have been great. We've had a lot of strikes. I know Donna Perna, the general manager here at Transit Lanes, you planned it that way, didn't you?
Yes, we did. We want everyone to walk away happy.
I joke with Bill Truman. I said, is there some kind of button there that he hits at the 10th frame to make these things go the way they're going?
Yeah, that's our secret.
I guess. we've had great bowling, and obviously we've had a lot of strikes, and that makes any bowling proprietor happy, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. If they have a good day, we have a good day.
Yeah, and we've had a good day here and good couple of days, and the bowlers have had good days as well, too. You're at that sort of unusual time of the year where your leagues and the winter are dying down a little bit. Things get a little quieter on the bowling front. How do you make that adjustment as a proprietor here to the change of seasons?
Well, the league season ends in April. End of April is actually it, but we don't really slow down too much. We are host to a lot of not-for-profit fundraising events that are coming up. Buffalo Zoo, the Spectrum Autistic fundraiser, JDRF, and we also host a summer sweeper, which starts May 21st, but there's still time to sign up for that and be a part of that, and that's an exciting thing because we get to see some professional bowlers bowling with our league bowlers, amateur bowlers, and it's an exciting thing to do.
You like the summer sweeper a lot, don't you, Sue?
I do, because it reminds me how much I need to practice. No, honestly, if you go through 12 weeks of that sweeper, you're going to be so far better off at the end of it because of the challenging conditions. Not that they're impossible, but that they just change. And it's like normally when you come to your league house, it's the same condition every week. So you know what bowling ball you're picking out of your bag, you know where you're going to stand, you know where your moves are. Well, this is different. Every 2 weeks the shot changes, so it's like going to a different bowling center every 2 weeks, and you can't help but get better.
And I think as we've seen, because this show goes year-round and we don't stop in the summer when a lot of the bowling centers do, the weather in the summer sometimes can have a little more of a drastic effect on the lanes, the conditions, and all that other stuff. So it's an interesting challenge for the bowlers, isn't it?
Well, the lanes are affected by everything. So they're definitely affected by weather and the humidity and everything that you see. And Western New York, of course, has varying conditions all year long.
Right.
So I think the sweeper, as Sue said, provides these bowlers with a different challenge, which is fun.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch.
And if you're not a bowler, but you're a fan of the sport and someone who enjoys coming and watching the best bowl, if you want to cool off on a hot summer night, this is a good place to come watch because as Donna said, Sue, you got the best of the best in that league this summer.
Absolutely, and again, you have to wait on a Saturday afternoon for someone like Jack or Brad to make a TV show and sit down at 4 o'clock and watch it. And here you get to watch them,
watch them live.
For the whole,
That's right.
for the entire night and week after week after week.
Yeah.
And maybe learn from it. Maybe watch what they're doing and say,
yeah.
I'm going to try this as well.
And the great thing about the guys that you mentioned is you can go up to them and ask them a question after a match, and they'll be more than happy to help you out and provide some advice. And again, for some of the young bowlers in this town that we've gotten to learn and know throughout the course of this show, what a great opportunity it is for them.
And you know, Donna, because we've gone to these functions with the youth bowlers. The proprietors sponsor the youth in all their tournaments. Wow, do we have a crop of young people coming up?
We have an amazing group of young junior bowlers in the Western New York area.
It's really impressive.
It is very impressive. We have one of the largest groups, and I go to many of these meetings statewide, and Buffalo is still a big bowling town, and we have an impressive group of young bowlers.
Yeah, I think we all know that, and it's great to see that other people know it as well too. So Ray Richards had strikes in the first 2 frames, and now he is battling his way for a second consecutive spare. Meanwhile, Dan Melidona, after a strike in the first, went open in the second, spare in the third. So I think both guys are trying to find themselves a little bit here early in this match.
Well, I noticed in practice they were fishing around the lanes just to see what would happen if they moved in, moved out, and they both saw the same thing, and that is if you move in, you're going to hit a lot of oil and your ball's going to go pretty straight. So now they're trying to make sure that they use the dry, but when you use the dry, oftentimes that's what happens right there. You hit it early, and he caught a break by going Brooklyn, but that's not what he wanted to do.
Well, Donna, aside from some great bowling that will go on in the summer sweeper and some of the cool events that you have, you know, if you, again, looking for a place to get out of the warm weather a little bit, or even if you come out and watch some of the sweepers, you've got plenty of food and drink offerings here as well, too.
We sure do. We have a fully scratch kitchen, so you can order anything from the traditional pizza and wings right down to custom flatbreads, salads, burgers, sandwiches, charcuterie trays. I mean, we have a whole host menu to choose from, and it's always good.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
Let me ask you this, Donna. You've had the pleasure of being in this business for a long time now. What are the biggest things that have jumped out at you about how the way the bowling business has changed over the years?
The bowling business, since I've been involved with Transit Lanes, has changed significantly, and it's the business model that changed. When I first started here back in the early 90s, I remember that there were 2 shifts of leagues every single Friday and Saturday. That has changed. So where we see a little bit of a decline in league bowling, open play is now a huge part of our business. So that's where it comes into the corporate events and holiday parties and family reunions and all of that. League bowlers are still very, very valuable in the industry, and we certainly value ours, but we're now seeing bowling has kind of become cool again. We have a lot of open play and a lot of people who think it's fun. And that's great. I love to hear that.
That exposes you to a lot of different groups of people then.
Absolutely.
All right, so where are we at in this match now? As Ray kind of hangs his head a little bit and shakes it after the 7th frame that he couldn't get that last pin to fall down, as you can see on the Castellone scoreboard.
Well, Ray's still up a little bit. He's up 12 pins. However, Dan has a strike posted up in 7th, so he strikes in the 8th, and that is down to an even match. So right now, nobody's running away with anything.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily look like Ray's going to have the chance to put up on the 267 like he did in the last match, but it doesn't mean he isn't going to be able to win this one, too. So 2 spares in a row for Ray, and as you saw, it looked like he was getting a little frustrated, so now he'll have to fight that as well. And there's a good way to fight back.
Well, again, he's being pushed a little bit in. His dry to the right is actually getting too dry and is pushing him in. And there was a nice light swisher hit, which, he'd probably like to hit a little higher flush than that, but he'll take it.
30-year-old Dan Melidona from right here in Williamsville. He's got his dad, Paul, and his mom, Kathleen, cheering him on here at Transit Lanes, where he bowls 3 nights a week. And that one
he was
just died at the end and
he was way
turned.
too deep. He was way too deep. That ball never touched any dry boards. I don't know if he wandered left with his feet or if he was not square to his target and got that way too far in the oil.
So this is a challenging 1, 2, 10 spare pickup.
1, 2, 8, 10. There's a
1, 2, 8. Oh, I didn't even see the 8 back.
Sleeper back there.
And he gets it. Nice job by Dan Melidona knocking the 4 pins down.
So now this is sort of flip-flop because he didn't capitalize on his strike and Ray posted up his strike. So now Ray's in a position to go up 22. So, we're really on a bit of a roller coaster ride here with these 2.
Well, we've hit the 9th frame for both guys, as you can see. So whoever finishes stronger is going to get a chance to win this match and head to Jamestown in 2 weeks. Good strike for Dan. Don't forget, next week we'll have our little fun with as we always do with our 4th show. Donna, you're going to let loose all the Transit Lane regulars here, aren't you?
I think we are, yes.
Yeah.
And they're excited about that.
Good. A little Transit Lanes house championship battle.
Yes,
who do you like as the favorites in that one?
Well, I don't know. Mike Zarcone has a little bit of an advantage. He's seen the lanes already, but I think Timmy Friends is looking for his first win on TV, and I think he wants it bad.
All right, well, good. Then we'll see. Those are 2 of the 4 that we'll have on next week's show. Ray could not get that last pin to drop, so he'll again have to play for a spare here in the 9th frame in a very tight match. So once again, we're going to head to the 10th frame with a match still to be decided.
Oh yeah,
Which seems to be every match here over the last 3 weeks.
All that matters here is what he does, because Dan, now he's got the strike up, so now it's actually going to be in his hands.
Well, that's what makes it exciting.
Absolutely.
It makes it exciting.
Actually, as I look at this, Ray can shut him out with a triple and 9. Dan can only go 215.
So there's a strike on the first ball of the 10th frame for Ray Richards.
So he needs one more and 9 pins.
So the scoreboard tells us what Ray needs, and you saw him thinking about it.
Yeah, we're all sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, wow, this is a lot closer than...
Yeah.
They were just back and forth and back and forth.
It was very much a back and forth match, which is a little bit different than... We had back and forth matches, but they were like clumps of one guy doing great and then stumbling and the other guy catching up.
Big shot here. Oh, door's open.
So Ray could not get that second strike that he needed. And he'll finish this one off, post the final score, and then sit and watch and see what Dan does. So a final score posted up of 207 for Ray Richards. So what does Dan need to do to beat him?
He needs the first one in the 10th here. Then he'll need some good count, but the first one is the most important.
Dan Melidona, chance to win it right here. And he gets it.
Okay, let's see
with
what he
count.
needs now.
Will come up with a win.
Nope, no, wait, let me look. He may need... He needs the next one.
He does need the next one.
He does need the next one. This is only good enough for a 204. He needs one more strike.
Talk about the pressure.
Yeah, no kidding.
And there it is, a winning strike for Dan Melidona on his second ball of the 10th frame. Gets the double that he needs, and it's going to be Dan who will come up with the victory and advance to Jamestown in 2 weeks. Boy, I'll tell you what, Donna, you gave us good matches. Every match was
we're glad
right down, biting our fingernails every time.
We're glad to provide that.
Yeah, so what a great stay we've had here at Transit Lanes. We're going to be back for one more week, but the competition has been outstanding, as it always is. Donna, thanks to you and Bill Truman and the rest of the staff for putting on a good show here.
Thank you.
All right, we've got a winner. It's Dan Melidona. We'll talk to Dan, we'll talk to Ray, and get you ready for next week's show.
Wow.
When Sue and I return to Transit Lanes. Great bowling in Williamsville. We're back right after this. What else but another match that comes right down to the 10th frame. It's a 213 to 207 win for Dan Melidona. Ray, before we talk about that match, let's talk a little bit about you kind of getting your feet wet and winning the 3 in a row here on the show.
Yeah, felt pretty good.
Anything in particular about the way that you were bowling or the way things started to go well for you?
Pins fell my way.
That's how it usually works. All right, so this match with Dan, both of you guys kind of struggled to get any real consistency going, but as you got better towards the end, did you feel like you'd done enough to win?
He was throwing it pretty good, so he deserved to win.
Well, it was a great match, and you put up a great fight, and hopefully we see you a little more than 2-3 years apart like we did this time, right?
Yeah.
Bill?
Great bowling today. It's been fun watching you bowl all day. I know I'll see you this summer, and here's a little money to carry you over and get you started for the summer.
Thank you.
All right, good job by Ray Richards. Even a little better job by 6 pins by Dan Melidona.
Yeah, it looked like nothing consistent was going on there. So when he got to the 10th and had to throw a double, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. Like the right lane rather was just really, really tricky. Either it didn't hook and then it overhooked, and I was lucky to catch a Brooklyn, and I just made a good guess and knocked all 10.
But that's the one you had to finish on, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course it had to be, right?
It always works that way. I hear you. But did you just square up because they look a little tighter in the middle?
No, I actually probably moved a little left and threw it a little slower just so we could get out to the dry a little more. And thankfully, it stayed. It stayed. It was pretty high flush, so.
Amazing finish. Good job.
All right, so Dan Melidona with the win, which means we get to see him in 2 weeks. He gets to make the trip down to Jamestown to face a whole new group of contenders. Sue and I will wrap up this week's edition of Beat the Champ. Get you ready for what should be a fun fourth show when we return. More Beat the Champ right after this. Well, when we started here 3 weeks ago, we talked about how we always seem to get some pretty cool things that happen, some pretty cool matches at Transit Lanes. And how about this, Sue? 5 of our 9 matches over the last 3 weeks were decided by 10 pins or less, and it felt like all of them came right down to the 10th frame.
That's right. Even with transition and as the lanes changed, they still stayed very playable and very nice. So the scores were relatively good. People could hit the pocket. And, yeah, made for some nail biters.
Yeah, we had a couple of nice little streaks there with Rocket Rob Piccoli and then Ray Richards, but ultimately it's Dan Melidona wins the only match he needed to win to advance to Jamestown.
Yep, the one that's going to take him down the road an hour and a half.
Yeah, so Dan Melidona is the guy that we're going to see in 2 weeks, but next week it's our Transit Lanes House Championship, which means we get to see some of the best bowlers from one of the best bowling centers in Western New York.
Yeah, and that should be really exciting. I mean, we have some familiar faces on the show, so you'll just have to stay tuned and see who we got.
There's the ultimate tease. Thank you, Janelle. Make sure you join us for next week's show. It's the Transit Lanes Championship. We'll see you then, right here on Beat the Champ.